Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 112 of Mini Truckin Magazine. It is April 2001. There's a lot to talk about. Please, if you can, watch this video all the way through. Leave a comment. Share it with others that you feel would possibly appreciate the info. Hit up our Lifestyle podcast, link at the top of the description, if you want to buy merch, including old school merch, paying homage to MT Mag. So this issue is jam-packed with great content. I believe I may have mentioned Sean's name in the past incorrectly. It's Sean, Ornduff, Ornduffs. This is a flamed S10 dubbed Neckbreaker. It was Lance's 14th credited cover. Sean was a part of Severed, and this, believe it or not, was Severtize's second credited cover of Mini Truck, and you'll have to stay tuned to issue 269, which is going to be a ways down the road, to find out who wins in terms of the clubs with the most covers of the publication. Now, at the end of this episode, I'm going to talk about how many trucks had Budnick wheels, so stick with me till the end if you can. I'll try to make this one swift. I know some of them are getting a little bit longer. My guess is the truck was shot at Texas Heatwave 2000. Lance did shoot this one, and the background with the gravel, that's reminiscent of behind-the-scene photos and other shoots that we've seen from Texas Heatwave. I know Tim, shout out to Tim, NC Florida, he shared some behind-the-scenes photos with us in the past. There's definitely a lot to talk about. This is one of my favorite S10s. My understanding is the truck is no longer in existence. I got a chance to see it at Showfest 2000, which was May 23 years ago. Pretty crazy. But again, let's jump in. You got a couple of lifestyle photos. You also have in custom compacts. You got the ladies there. So kind of reinforcing the party aspect of our scene and just having a good time. Here is the S10 I talk about from Missouri that was featured in Sport Truck. I think it's pretty awesome. Table of contents with a blue background. You can look right here and see the insight to Lance Cabbage Patch Martz with the credit. There's some good features in this one, including Rasberry Surprise, the 88 Mazda that you see there, Slamboree, East Coast Nats, and so on and so forth. Definitely appreciate all the support. We're continuing to grow here. This is just one part of what I plan to do. Obviously, this project and getting through all these magazines is kind of priority right now. The scrub line, so Lance talks about the spring thaw. These, if you've ever read magazines over the course of time, they're doing these a couple of months in advance, and they're having to write 2 or 3 issues out, and that's what they're doing. They're kind of lining that up with the time of year that it's going to be arriving in the mailbox. There is Finnegan's Yoda. Phil Fowler, shout out to Phil. He called the other day, and it was my wife's born day, so we were doing some things, and got a chance to catch up with him. He was watching the flip throughs, and he was giving me some intel, so certainly appreciate the comments or calls or texts and things like that. It's always welcomed. This was Brian Nunes from Mansfield, Texas. Really nice Frontier. Super clean, awesome graphics. Severed. And if you were keeping score, like I said, with this being the Severed second cover, Severed up to this point, didn't have a lot of covers, but don't let that fool you. Speaking of fooling, no fooling around. Scott Massengill. We saw, I think he introduced himself on the last issue. Here's East Coast Nats. So the Ranger that we just saw, super clean. Mitsubishi Mighty Max I mentioned recently. Thing was super awesome, super clean. I wonder where some of these trucks are. You can see we saw this recently, so more than likely a lot of features came from this area. The Mighty Max getting after it, hopping. Here's Tim, Red Dog, that famous S10. I got a chance to talk to Tim and meet him and talk with him at Mini Nats, and gonna try to link up with him soon. Repping Subculture, of course. Man, this thing is so clean. I love the paint. Those wheels, maybe at the time weren't my favorite wheels, but man, the nostalgia of the 90s, early 2000s, that we would see those wheels, of course, in the wheel ads. It's kind of, nostalgia is a great thing. I'll say that. This looks like Phil right here. And when Phil had called me, he said, yeah, that issue, I think it was 99. He said, hey, that was the first issue that they ever ran any of my words in. And, of course, from there out, Chris Schmidt and Lance would kind of rely upon Phil Fowler, one of the best guys in our scene, in my opinion, for some content. So he was always thankful to be able to do that. And he's still out there representing. He'll be at Mini Nats all week. He's taking a whole week off. Rasberry Surprise. So here's the 88 that we mentioned a little bit ago. I think it was Justin Jordan was the guy's name that had this one. And super clean. Even by today's standards, tweed interior, really nice cross member, super clean bed, more tweed. Repping lower level. You can see that logo there on the back. And you can see it here in the rear 3/4 shot. I always dug these 2-page features, man. Especially with the nice layout. You have your front 3/4 shot here. And then you've got your other insert photos. You were able to get a lot, including the write-up, on a 2-page feature. Plus, it saved you money if you end up buying the plaque. A 2-page versus like a 4-page would actually save you some money, of course. Ironically enough, in the news, they're the company that made all those plaques. They're like 15, 20 minutes from our house. And I think they're under new ownership now. Ryan, who worked there a long time, he is back. This was kind of cool. A bunch of plates, custom plates. That's obviously a big thing of our custom truck scene. A couple that stick out is So Bad. Would have been Craig Elder's. Low Fat. Relaxed. Alter Images. Extensive. Which I think this one was Bill Carlton's. But cool stuff. Here's Slamboree 2000. And what we'll see is the Mazda, more than likely. Again, when you were looking at features, you would flip the pages like we just did, and you would see, oh, wow, it was in show coverage. Kind of pointing a little bit to the fact that it was probably shot at said show. Speaking of clean Mazdas, look how clean this thing is. Super clean. Looks like Forever Low, possibly, with the 4 on the side. Again, 2-door Blazers. I always dig this paint, especially like nowadays, the throwback. It kind of has that Flexstone feel to it. The gray color. Pretty cool. I remember my buddy Paul doing Flexstone on a box, like inside of a speaker box or something. And, we'd go to the craft store and you could buy that stuff. And is that Charles? It's hard to tell if that's Charles Armstrong there. Yeah, the kid. Hobbled around Slamboree. Shout out to Charles Armstrong. Talked to him not too long ago. He's moved. I forget where he moved from and to. If he's in Colorado or he moved out of Colorado. It was something. But he had acquired a 65 Lincoln, and I had given him some advice on things that he ended up doing maintenance-wise. He ended up selling the car recently. And said things are going well for him. It's always cool to hear from him. Check out this S10. It looks like one we saw recently. That was a popular style with, bodied, the hood cowl, the Phantom Grille, the 88 or the 98, 99, 2000-ish front air dam valence. Okay, so Neckbreaker. This is Sean's amazing S10. My understanding from previous posts is that this truck is no longer in existence. You guys could maybe confirm. I mean, we haven't seen it. I believe, being a fabricator, this thing ended up just being parted out, and things like the steering column and other stuff used for other vehicles or, projects or whatever. It's a shame. This thing is totally insane. Max at Maxed Out Paintworks painted it. I mean, that Tangelo orange and great paint, though. I believe this was Sean's girlfriend or wife, if I remember correctly. And Lance did an awesome job on the shoot. You know, I like this kind of photo here with the kind of the natural light coming in here. And you got the billet inlay, and then of course here you also have, like, you know, all of this main bezel piece all shaved up. This was always a cool shot to me. The front 3/4 kind of above the hood, you get to see the detail in the graphics. You also get to see how sometimes these grills would be painted, and you got the orange, so it kind of looks orange from that level, like looking down. Super clean. Again, we got to see this thing rolling, cruising the strip at Greenville. The other nice touch there is with the sliding rag top, you can see that they painted the actual frame as well. So here as well as inside it, a lot of detail. And just really an awesome cover truck. It's a shame if it's no longer around. And shout out to Max at Maxed Out Paint. I mean, painted so many awesome rides. I think the other one that comes to mind is the Caprice, those full-size Caprices, the wagons. I remember seeing that thing cruising. I went to Heatwave 01, which would have been a couple of months after this issue arrived, since we're in 2001, and got the chance to see his stuff, you know, in person, of course, including this truck. I always like the interior, you know, just with the buckets, pretty, you know, plain Jane, nothing crazy, but you also had sculpture on the door panels. Great front 3/4 shot here with the gravel pit. I mean, just a perfect place to shoot trucks. Again, my assumption is that it was at Heatwave. The engine, you know, this is in the early 2000s, you know, late 90s, basically when guys were doing motor swaps, but I mean, just look at this and just go, boom, planted on the ground, nice, you know, V8. The whole entire bed was basically welded shut. And you can see here just how all of the flames flow. The severed logo was super cool, how it literally tied right into the paint. And you can see Fat Rides was the company that that Sean had. Now his Instagram, you could find him if you type in his last name, and he says retired and living in the Pacific Northwest. So I'm not sure what his status is, but I mean, dude, bottom line is he built a super sick truck. And again, at the end of this flip through, I'll talk a little bit about how many cover trucks. This is one of a few copies I have, and you know, this one obviously the center section popped out. But I'll talk a little bit about how many trucks had Budnick wheels on it. Such an awesome truck. Can't say enough good stuff about it. Man, one of my favorite S10s, no doubt. Plus it was extended cab, and with that sliding rag, man, just fire. Here is Godfather Mini Truck and Super Show. And I never did make it to one of these, but I know a lot of guys in the South did. This truck is super clean. That Mazda, super awesome. The Aero Star, I think that's what Hank from Hammer Weekend Wear, his dad was, dude, he had an Aero Star, last I heard, like that. It was a lifted one that he would cruise around the shows, man. If you haven't already, check us out on the podcast. Search OLP or go to ourlifestylepodcast.com and click how to listen. I know some of you are like more visual people. You'd like to watch something or listen/watch on YouTube. More on that in the future here at OLP. But I would just tell you, please check us out. Much appreciated. This is the Mazda I think we saw a second ago. Super clean. Now, I should know this. I want to say, was this one Eli's that burned down? I always get it mixed up. Because I have a photo of Eli's one. I think it had white on it. So I don't know. You guys could maybe chime in on that. But here, what makes me think of that too is the acrylic steering wheel. I think that's acrylic. And them and one of their guys that they knew, they were making those. Back in those days, it was kind of cool. So that jumped out at me there. Envious. So super popular cars, these Civics. They played a big role in mini trucking, especially late 90s into the 2000s. And nice color choice there. If you want to buy some merch, like I said, hit up ourlifestylepodcast.com. Typically, unless it's a pre-sale item, that stuff ships out normally within a day or so. Mike works at the post office, so he goes every day. Here's Jeff's Nissan and Tony Peterson's Extra Cab. This thing, to me, always had the perfect stance. Nice size wheel on it. Budnik. Boom. Exactly what you need. Planted on the ground. Rage Against the Machine, so you would see a lot of tech articles with Finnegan's truck, which was perfect because Tacomas were super popular. Finnegan was new on staff, and he had plenty of content to be able to pump out. And he's been doing that now. Think about 23 years later. Super clean ombre. Nice Toyota. Lower view Ranger. Thing was always awesome. Cal Concepts, right? I believe. 99.9% sure. Yep, and then look, there's the 100%. There's the old dash. Very similar dashes to some of their other projects. And then the S10 with the moon eyes caps. And there you see Cal Concepts. Boom. Some of these trucks are hopefully still hiding around. And more Summer Madness. So Joe Millionaire's Yoda, the Mitsu. Here's the Look That Kills. And that is now owned. I was actually just texting with Jeff Gaudette in the Pacific, or in the Northeast. So shout out to Jeff. Crazy that truck went from Cali to East Coast. Here we have, rest in peace, Rob Scepter. As we've mentioned in the past, you can see Rob's truck there in Tampa. We can tell it's Tampa based upon where the palm trees are at. I remember right where it was parked when that photo was taken. And Rob is dearly missed. Here we go, some of the mini laughter. You got Finnegan back before the little electric scooters that everyone's riding nowadays. By the way, that are fun. They're awesome at shows. Check this out. Mini Truckin spelled out. Probably put a sticker with some sunblock maybe. Dazed and Confused. VHS still were big. There's Lance there. A lot of good memories looking at these magazines, and certainly appreciate those that, you know, kind of say, hey, you know, they appreciate what we're doing. There's the photo again. We're going to continue to see in What's Up. Sport Truck Specialties. J. La Rosa. Ad. Boom. Going through some of this content a little quicker. Some of these get a little long, I know. Here you got Riding Around. So in case anybody knows anyone with... I try to sometimes look at the names to see if there's anyone. Procrastination and Going to Hell. Finnegan talks a little bit in here about some of the tickets and having to get... You can't forget in California they have all of the emission stuff. So he talks about some of the trials and tribulations there. Here's Graffiti. See if you guys see anything in here that rings a bell. Intense Gravity, Mazda up there. Isuzu Amigo. S10 on the right. Made to Drag. This was Tim Gilbert, I believe, from NC Florida. And then this awesome stand. Colorado Custom. Man, I'd love to have that thing in my house. I don't think my wife would appreciate that, though. Pretty cool. Love seeing those old photos of the rig. So I did mention at the beginning, so Budnik, how many trucks had Budnik wheels on them? So remember, I go through all of these issues and I kind of break all this stuff down. But this was the 7th truck to have Budnik wheels on a cover truck, and there were 9 total. So not a lot of cover trucks with Budnik wheels. Budnik wheels are super popular, but amongst many truckers, there were other more popular wheels. So there you have it. The 7th truck out of 9 total. With that being said, appreciate all the support. Stay on the rise. We're going to keep this one under 20 minutes. Don't forget to subscribe. We got ya. Peace.